Okay, everybody, welcome to Gold League, the one going up against Pretty Man today. Yes, there's a lot to say actually about this. So in case that you haven't really caught up to all of this, this is a Chinese tournament that we're currently looking at, and it's a best of 3 series between the One and a Pretty Man. So this is going to be a little bit monka, I'm going to tell you that right from the start. Now first of all, I'm not actually in the lobby for this tournament. I am relying on a clean feed, which also means that I'm not running the observing. That is done by the Chinese, and thankfully we have a clean feed that we can rely upon here. So it's a big tournament, 162 teams that participate in total. There's probably going to be a lot of Stoms at the beginning of the tournament, but there's also a couple of foreigners that actually play here, and you can see 3 of them currently in this game. For the One, we have Good, Margie, and Frankas playing, for example. All of them Korean, and from the Chinese perspective, that obviously then considers as foreigners. But we also have a couple of the Swedes playing. Whoopi, Shrimpy, and Poik are currently in Taiwan to play in the tournament. To my knowledge, there is a rule that at least 2 players in each team have to be Chinese, but in total we have 3 teams that run foreigners, 2 of them with Korean players and 1 with the Europeans that I just named. So we're going into our first game right here. And well, with that, we're having Maiev banned. So far when we're looking at the bans, it's actually pretty traditional, but we also had a couple of matches yesterday, which unfortunately I couldn't commentate. And in the first game, I think it was it was a Lily solo support against a Lucio solo support or something along those lines. So we are definitely in for a ride. If you've ever watched Chinese Heroes of the Storm, you know that these guys are wild. And it's pretty much what we would expect from this series too. I mean, you already have the Alara coming in super early here from Pretty Man, and Garrosh in addition to that as well. On the other hand, Anna with Jimmy. Again, Volskaya Foundry is map number 1. This is a best of 3 series indeed. Thrall coming in too, so heavy melee focus already from the Pretty Man, with a very manly lineup here too. I mean, Garrosh, Thrall, Alarak. Doesn't get much more manly than that, to be honest. I guess you could throw in a couple more melee heroes, but still, let's see how this is going to work out. Late ban, by the way, on Jaina and also on Tyrande. Usually we have those focused a bit earlier during the draft too. But obviously, when you're looking towards the setup of Pretty Man, having Tyrande banned out makes a lot of sense from the One. Just simply considering that there's a lot of lockdown there already. If you have another stun that can contribute to a stun chain and add the Hunter's Mark, then you know you're in trouble. With that said, frontline looking pretty powerful here for the One, running this with Blaze and also with Diablo. I'm still waiting for the hero that will capitalize on Ana the most though, because so far we don't have that quite there. Okay, there's Uther, another man with a big and majestic beard, so they are definitely doing their team name a bit of justice. I'm pretty sure that they also meant Pretty Men and not Man, so not 100% certain on that. Ah, well. 5 guys, 1 girl. That's what we're having currently on there. And Cassia, the one for the damage, the only real damage dealer outside of those. And well, that concludes draft number 1, as we have Li Ming coming in on the end, making sure that Ana gets something to do with the nano boost. So ladies and gentlemen, we're heading into game number 1 of this series here at the Gold League. The One going up against Pretty Man. Alright everybody, game number 1. We have on the left side the One in blue, and on the right Pretty Man in red. Also, as you can already see, we are relying on, with the Chinese production, on the official Blizzard UI, so we're not using the Ali UI for this particular tournament that you will still see for everything else, including Division S obviously. So something to consider here for sure. Going to talk about this a bit, but now we have the talents all the way up at the top. Now again, personally I'm just super happy that we get to cast all of this in the first place, and that we have a clean feed that we can rely on, so we don't have to simply cast off the Chinese stream without any sound. I want to highlight once more that I'm not doing the observing here, so I don't really have a chance to control the narrative in that sense, but we're definitely going to get a bit of an idea of what's happening here. Unfortunately, with the Blizzard UI, we also can't see stacks. That does not matter too much right now, but we have, for example, Crash Lightning on Thrall, so that's definitely something that we would like to keep tabs on. If the observer shows us that occasionally, it would be great. If not, we're still going to see it updated once he completes the quest, so we'll see. And I mean, especially the Thrall quest is one that we have seen in the past a lot more often right now, so one of the biggest arguments for it is you will have a lot of fights around those control points, and there's not a lot of minions around, so you have an easy time as Thrall to get that stacking going. Normally, that's something you see a lot of Battlefield of Eternity, where it's helping you a lot. But yeah, we're going to find out how this is going to work out for them here. Especially after level 10, that setup with a nano boost on Li Ming is also going to become very, very interesting. There's a lot of hit point heavy heroes on the side of the one, especially of course with Blaze being able to rely on the bunker later on in the game that he can use there to keep his team on the objective a bit longer. And then if you have those stun setups through, let's say, jet propulsion, for example, Li Ming can absolutely capitalize on those setups and try and get those resets, especially once the nano boost comes in too. So with that said, we're going to keep our eyes also on Alarak with a pretty box here. Pretty box? Pretty backs. Whatever backs is. Maybe he misspelled that, I'm not quite sure. But either way, if he can capitalize on any stun, be it a Garrosh toss, be it Uther coming in and dropping the hammer, or Thrall with a wolf, then of course a good combo from Alarak can definitely ruin the day for any hero on the other side, especially if he hits one of the squishies. So we're going to keep our eyes on that performance too. Already a little bit of trouble here for Blaze, but the jet propulsion comes through and turns the fight quickly against the red team, and there's the kill from Ana actually against Cassia, as that damage over time comes through just as Diablo goes in for the wall slam straight into that tower that we see there. So the first kill in the game goes to the one, as they have already gotten the level 4 talents. Behemoth armor now for Reyna, having dominance for Li Ming, so gonna try and be aggressive with that Calamity coming in on 7. Also interesting to note that when we're looking towards Thrall, he still went for Mana Tide here. Now keep in mind that especially against hit point heavy heroes like Diablo, like Blaze, we've seen lately a lot more focus into the Frostwolf pack, just so that on 16 when you go into Alpha Wolf you have a bit more synergy, you have a lowered cooldown, you have less mana that you have to use with this. But we don't see that from Pretty Man. They're going into a build that focuses way more now on the mana sustain through the Chain Lightning. Very likely that we're going to get Thunderstorm later on. So not really too worried about Diablo at the front line just yet. We'll see how that works out for them. Once more though, here comes the combo, this time against Reyna, and he goes down. That's the counter kill that he needed, just as the objective is spawning. Already Diablo on the point, but he will have to yield that pretty soon, especially with Blaze still being at the bottom of the map here. First turret really early dropped already, wow. A little bit questioning that choice, to be absolutely honest with you. There was no need to drop the turret. Now, first of all, we're seeing the one with the additional healing beacon, but using that turret this early when your opponent doesn't even have 5 heroes on the map is a little bit quick on the draw, if you ask me. So probably would have been a little bit smarter to hold that back for the fight itself, because the duration is now already down to just 30%, so this isn't really looking too pretty for them. Turret got no value, like none whatsoever. They are still ahead. I mean, Pretty Man are slightly ahead, but they're still in need of another kill here if they want to make a play with this. We're already having, well, Garrosh trying to look if he can maybe get another target flipped in, but the level 7 talents are making it a bit difficult for Pretty Man to engage into a fight, so they need to farm a bit more experience to make sure that they can at least fight on eye level, which is the case now. Ancestral Wrath against Diablo, fantastic tool from Thrall now as well, to make sure that he gets a little bit more action out of this. They're already starting to move in. Garrosh controlled once again through a nice penetrating round from Reyna, but here comes the throw, and Garrosh needs to be careful, but Diablo also overstepping quite a little bit, going straight for the wall slam though, and Uther is dead, and so is Garrosh. The double kill, maybe even a triple, as Cassia's in trouble. All 3 of them go down as the one is able to claim the first objective. Here comes the Protector, goes down, level lead now, even more than that. I mean, we're looking pretty much at 1.5 levels at this time already, and they're just absolutely slamming through the middle. Going straight for the fort as well, not hesitating whatsoever. Oftentimes you will see the movement towards the top to try and take the fountain down, but with them eliminating 3 heroes, they have no trouble whatsoever to also drop the fort in the middle, still make the rotation with another 30 seconds left on the Protector, going straight in for this one. And as you can see, Frankus has already taken down the... Frankel has already taken down the the fountain by himself. So this is an absolute slaughter here. Level 10 is already in, and that means a 2-level lead at this point in time for the one. And I want to highlight again that there's more than 160 teams that participate in this tournament. So especially in these early rounds that we're looking at right now, you can expect that we're going to see a few stomps happening. There will be a couple of close games for sure, but there will also a few very dominant ones to just weed out the weaker teams before we're heading into the final rounds. And this is actually also a tournament which will feature the final 8 teams to play offline in China. A break here. Seems to be a slight problem here on the side of one of the teams. But again, just going over what we've seen so far. Massive lead for the blue team. Doing really well here against Pretty Man, having now not only taken the middle fort, but also dropped the top fountain. So very, very strong performance on the side of the one up to this point. Back in the game, as whatever the problem was has been resolved. And we're going to check out if Pretty Man can start a bit of a comeback. For now, it's actually Li Ming looking for another quick kill here. Diablo's already moving in. Gets thrown in, though. That doesn't really do anything to Oh, that could be a problem for Cassia. She was a bit far out there. Lightning Breath comes in, and Cassia is dead. That's the reset for Li Ming, and she immediately sets up another kill for Reyna with the last hit. Down go the Orcs. Garrosh and Thrall are both eliminated, and that leaves us with 8 kills against 1 in favor for the one. Great start into the tournament for them here. I mean, the map obviously not over yet, so at this point they haven't really won game 1 yet, but if you look at the advantage, it is going to be an uphill battle for Pretty Man, no doubt about it, to make it back into this. And again, we have obviously a mixed team here on our hands with the one, having currently 3 Korean players participating in this. And yeah, one of 3 teams with foreign players. And another team would be Boluo, which features the 3 Swedes. We're actually seeing Poig, we're seeing Shrimpy and Wooby play later today. So they're going to play. And we have another team, I think it was CE, but I think it was CE, which has another 3 Koreans playing for them. Giddy up now with the talent lead on the side of the one, but also a 3-level lead. I mean, even just looking at the stats advantage that you gain from having a level over your opponent is pretty okay. Valkyrie, the choice for Cassia. When you look at the level 10 abilities that we're seeing for Pretty Man, we also have Divine Shield now being used, so whoever is in trouble will get some assistance there. Now, it's a bit unfortunate that we don't have control over the stacks. That's one of the big advantages when we're using the other UI. But again, I'm not controlling the feed itself, so the Blizzard UI is the official UI for the tournament. But I would really like to know how far in Thrall currently is on the Crash Lightning, because this might be something that helps them to change things slightly. Nice setup. Ana comes in with the Sleeping Dart, and then immediately Li Ming with a good combo. Job well done so far. But yeah, looking good here. Bottom of the map, Alarak is still battling it out with... Oh, nicely done. Look at that. Frankel immediately just like blinking away from the Valkyrie. It was a good attempt by Cassia, but you can't just easily pull that off against a player that is like this good and that has been playing this well, especially of course in the past here in Korea too. So he knows exactly what's potentially coming here. There's one cooldown and it just got fired away. Another 30 seconds until Cassia is able to use it again. And they're already setting up a flank at the side. Jet propulsion action is possible. They're trying to make the play. Slows are already coming in. Alarak gets put into a really awkward spot. Goes for the ult, but here comes also Thrall. And they're in trouble. Yes, Bunk on the ground. They're getting burned to a crisp here as everybody is low and tries to run away. There's the first kill as Thrall falls, and he's not the only one. Garrosh dies, and so does Alarak. Cassia joins the fun as we have 12 kills against 1. 9.5 minutes in. And the Korean mixed team is starting to make their way towards the keep itself. Fantastic setup here by them thus far. 3.5 levels ahead right now. They are about to get a 2-talent advantage over their opponent as they already dropped the keep itself at the top lane. And keep in mind, the second objective hasn't been taken yet. So if they get that protector, there's actually a very, very good chance that they're just going to make their way towards the core. I want to stress this again. They are about to have a 2-talent lead. The stats advantage alone is scary. Now they're going for the items as well. They're going for the protector too. And with all these advantages in their hand, they can definitely look for a very quick finish here on Volskaya Foundry, our first map in the series. Now Mirror Ball chosen on Li Ming's side on level 16, Pain and Red on Reyna, so they definitely have now the tools to also keep Reyna alive a little bit longer, even if he gets focused or flipped over by Garrosh. And in addition to that, the Mirror Ball is going to help Li Ming to get even more damage out, as if that was needed in any case. But yeah, so they are just absolutely dominating this first game. Moving in already, as it stands. And they want to go for core. I mean, obviously, they still hold on to that 2-talent advantage, and we're seeing Pretty Man just desperately fighting to hold that core somehow. The Divine Shield is out already as they're trying to make the play for Garrosh. He barely survives, tries to get away here. He's super low, needs to top that up, but the shield is falling on the core, and this isn't looking pretty at all. 3.5 levels ahead. Still, that core is falling. It's falling quickly, and it's not the only one that's dying. Garrosh is dead already. Thrall follows, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is going to conclude game number 1 as we have Pretty Man absolutely obliterated by the one as they claim victory in the first game of the series. Alright everybody, game number 2. The one made this one like a short one. Game number 1 was very dominant from the Korean mixed team here participating in this. And again, I want to stress it again, we can expect some dominant performance at the beginning of the tournament. With this many teams participating, this is to be expected, especially if you throw a team in there that features 3 Korean former pro players from HGC, and especially the Li Ming performance should have told you that already. So yeah, it was pretty sick. We have Tirana banned out in game number 2 again, followed by Ana. Pretty Man, on the other hand, they have to kind of find a way to break through. This is not going to be easy. This is Sky Temple, so Sky Temple is going to be our next map, and for Pretty Man to take this series, you have now to win 2 in a row. Pretty tall order if you're going up against such a strong team here. But it's also a bit epic to honestly see the performance that we have, especially from the 3 Korean players that we have here. And after Li Ming was played in game number 1, we now have a different approach. Frankel's saying like, well, you know what? I like the resets on Li Ming, but let's try something else for now. Let's go Genji. So first pick on Genji here, and I'm already dreading what he's gonna do with that hero. As we have a Sylvanas and Artanis set up for Pretty Man. Not quite the first picks that I expected to see. But then again, it is Chinese Heroes of the Storm, and we all know that that goes wild. Like, these guys, they have combos that you don't see anywhere else. Like, not even Division 7 is pulling any of that shit. So even the Stitch is coming in right now. And the follow-up with Magi going straight in for Malfurion. So we're going to at least see the hook into Roots. Don't have the setup with Tyrande here, who can provide the Hunter's Mark and the stun, but that's still very solid. Ban on false stats, eliminating one of the globals. Could still see the Haka, of course, on the offline. I'm going to be absolutely honest with you, I don't want to make too many predictions here, because if we look at European meta, then yeah, you kind of get an idea of what exactly is happening, and there's a certain meta that established itself now in a thought process that is behind a lot of these picks. But when you're looking over towards the Chinese game, there's a lot of picks that just come because of personal preferences, where they feel, okay, we have maybe something here, and there's a lot of cheese strategies that they have too. That looks to me more and more like they're going to try and... They're 100% trying to backdoor keeps here. I mean, this is... In NA, they call it the Juice Pirates. In Europe, I don't even know what it was called anymore. In Division 7, the Bacon Landlords played it a lot. The whole idea is, do you try and snipe structures? You get Medivac, you get Sanctification, you have the Blind through Artanis, and then you can disable structures with Sylvanas. So you're trying to fly into your opponent's keep, and then you just sank on the keep, you take the keep down, and you do the same over and over again until you can blow up the core. So that has to be the idea here. I mean, it's as straightforward as it gets at this point. And we have on the other side now Vala taken and Thrall. What's the final build? I could have seen Falstad for them. Oftentimes you will see that with a Falstad because he can fly in too. We have seen that build with Abathos as well. Reyna sometimes is being picked because it has the Hyperion that he can drop just simply with the ult too. So let's see what the final pick here for them is. Again, the thought process is you want to take down structures as quickly as you can, and you're totally willing to sacrifice yourself in the attempt. So they go Suljin. They have with Suljin now a hero that can of course get a lot of damage in, especially after using Tasdingo here. And let's see how that works out for them. I mean, the situation or the strategy is pretty much telegraphed. How is the one going to deal with it? I'm going to find out right now on Sky Temple. Let's get this party started. Sky Temple, everybody. We're looking at the one in the lead in the best of 3 series here on the left and Pretty Man on the right side. Now, we talked about this draft already a bit during the draft itself, but I want to highlight again that we have 3 Korean players that played on the highest level of HGC on the side of the blue team. So if you are looking at that draft that Pretty Man has put together here in the past few minutes, you're not going to be blindsided by the strategy. You look at these heroes and you very quickly will understand what's happening here. So there's no way that the one looks at this game later and says like, oh my god, we never saw it coming. So I'm really interested to see how that strategy works out, because the one, again, they know what's happening here. They know that this is a backdoor strategy. They know that this is a strategy attempted to take the structures down. The only question that we really have is how will they deal with that? That's the main question at this point. Because once that level 10 comes in, pretty box on the Sylvanas got barely out there. Once that level 10 comes in, what we're going to see is the attempt to just simply fly onto the keeps, take the keeps down, and then do the same thing with the core later on. You sank the ground, you fly in, and yeah, there is a chance that that's happening, but ooh, pretty book, Sylvanas! Here comes the Genji kill. Looked for a moment as if Sylvanas might be able to get away, but Frank has had very, very different ideas here. And another kill. Genji already having fun. If the Liming performance in the game number 1 wasn't enough for you, now you see a more reset city on the side of Genji for the one, as we have 2 kills coming in against 0. Suljin going down 2. And yeah, it will be an interesting game for sure. What's happening around the level 10? That's the big question here. Amateur opponent, on the side of good old Artanis, as we're having him in here. With that said, Vala's performance, that's something that I'm also a little bit interested in. If we're going to see a traditional build into multi-shot, or if this is actually going to be a different setup here for them. Thrall going straight into the Echo of Elements. This time no Crash Lightning. Makes obviously sense, since Crash Lightning is a talent you very rarely see on maps outside of Battlefield of Eternity and Volskaya Foundry for that matter. And there it is! Going full into the stacking process. Another kill against Tyrael in this case, so that's a 3 for 0. And we actually see Creed of the Hunter being picked, and another kill comes in against Sylvanas. The problem that you have with a backdoor strategy like this is you kinda need to get to level 10 on, well, even footing, I wanna say. And that's not happening here at all. Frostwolf Pack for Thrall. This time working on the quick kills here, and of course also with Creed of the Hunter taken. If we actually see Vala getting stacked on this, then that's going to be a lot of auto attack damage later on too. But yeah, the one already showed in game number 1 very impressively that they are outclassing Pretty Man here. In my opinion, one of the reasons why we're seeing this strategy from the red team in the first place. But can they maybe make an impact in this game once that they have level 10? Because so far it doesn't really look likely. There have been a few attempts actually in the past to make the strategy happen on the highest level of play, but oftentimes it was shut down by opponents very, very early on, and they just simply abused the weakness in the early game of a lineup like this. So now when you're looking at the map, we're having already more than a 1.5 level lead for the one. There's a nice attack up at the top, trying to get control over at least one of the temples and get a bit of structural damage in too. Here comes that hook though, and a Pretty Box barely gets out there, but the problem is that Tyrael is still very much isolated. In comes Artanis trying to create some space too, and help them out with a retreat, and morale is of course working overtime now, but even that isn't enough as Thrall goes in for the kill against Artanis. And that's the end of him. 5 kills against 0. Level 7 talents all ready for the one. And well, with that we get Death Dealer for Vala. So pretty traditional auto attack build if you want to go down that path. Then again, we're looking... Oh, interesting. Also, look at that. Follow through for Thrall. So not going into the Ancestral Wrath here at all. Instead, just working on that extra damage to the auto attacks. That makes Echo of Elements, of course, a lot stronger now too. The cooldown reduction on the Frost Wolf pack, once completed, is also going to help with it. But once you have the double charge, you can definitely weave those auto attacks in a little bit more reliably if you want. Now it takes away some of the self-sustain that you have, and that you can oftentimes use it a bit of a burst against heroes and frontliners. But still, very, very powerful if you can keep yourself alive and you're playing a good setup here. In terms of levels, we have a 2-level lead only 4.5 minutes in. You can kinda see where this is going. Pretty Man, they need 10. They need 10 and they need to get that backdoor going. If that isn't the case, then they are in trouble and they lose Artanis again. Oh my god, it's a double kill. As we see Vala go for 2. Also Echo of Elements is completed by now. And this is just brutal. Quick pause follows as a Pretty Man has to put on some aloe vera because of all the burns that they just received in the first 5 minutes of this game. And yeah, so far it's a pretty strong statement that the one is making here on Sky Temple. And we're back to business. So whatever the holdup was, we are back in it. Again, I want to stress again that we have absolutely no control over the feed here. So I'm very happy that we get that clean feed from the Chinese production in the first place. But so I can't unfortunately check talents like Creed of the Hunter, like Echo of Elements, the Frost Wolf pack, or any of these stacks. Unfortunately, the UI doesn't really support that for us here. And, well, at this point, Frankus is having a lot of fun here, not only getting the kill against good old Suljin, but nearly getting another one here. And now that they're pretty much 2.5 levels ahead, they're making even a play for the boss. I also want to draw your attention to the minimap for a second. We have 2 forts already taken down on Pretty Man's side. They lost 2 main structures here as is. But now they're trying to at least turn this around at the boss, but nope, that isn't happening either, because 2 heroes are still topside. And now look at the bottom map. There's a double camp plus boss already moving in towards the keep. 6 minutes in with level 10 on the other side. The big question in this game is, can Pretty Man get to level 10 in the first place to show what their backdoor composition is supposed to do? Or will the game end before that? Because, well, the one, as I said before, they have 3 players that played on the highest level of Korean Heroes of the Storm, and there's a double kill as Morales and Suljin are dead. Down goes Tyrael, and that's the end of Sylvanas. We have 4 heroes down. That's 5. It's a 5-man team wipe, and it looks like we might see a 7-minute game here. That boss is still on half HP. There's 4 siege giants coming in with this. The death timers are so low that everybody is pretty much back to defend, but this is just absolutely nuts. We have a 7-minute game as the one takes down Pretty Man on Sky Temple and makes this a 2-0 victory in their first appearance at the Gold League. GG and well played.